The three-day Munich Security Conference concluded on Sunday with discussions focused on the future of Europe and security architecture issues, as well as accelerating the EU accession of Balkan countries. According to a document seen by a news agency, the United States has asked its European allies what they would need from Washington to participate in Ukraine's security arrangements and to outline how they see lasting guarantees. The document, consisting of 6 points and questions, also asks which countries could contribute to the guarantees, who would be willing to deploy troops to Ukraine as part of a peace settlement, and the size of any European-led force.
This year's Munich Security Conference was supposed to be primarily about two things: how to end the war in Ukraine without giving in to Russia, and how Europe needed to boost its spending on defense. European leaders at the final day of the Munich Security Conference on Sunday sought to firm up how the European Union can move from talk to more action and stay relevant as Washington pushes to stop the fighting. It came after Trump's Ukraine envoy Keith Kellogg said Europe will not have a seat at the table for the talks.
But our philosophy is not to continue this war to the death of every last Ukrainian. The intent is to stop the carnage, stop the war, make sure it's reasonable, making sure the sovereignty stays intact. But we're going to get to specifics about it. When you say sitting at the table, in all probability, there's really going to be, one of the reasons I'm here is for the input, obviously. But when you sit at the table, there's two protagonists when you look at it, and there's one, hopefully, to be an intermediary.
How his idea was not liked by many as European leaders pushed for Europe's role in peace negotiation.
If we are supposed to take some responsibility, Europe must sit at the table as well. Of course, then you can have a good question, who represents Europe? We have European chief foreign policy, the chief of the foreign policy, we have big countries, but I think we are going to sort this out.
I think the message coming out of Munich now and also coming out of Europe tomorrow, and whoever is going to be involved in those talks, is Europe needs to be a part of this process. Ukraine needs to be a part of this process. If not, this type of ceasefire is not going to be credible.
Finnish President Alexander Stubb said that talks between US and Russia over Ukraine war must not rewrite European security and allow Moscow to establish spheres of interest.
There are two things that are non-negotiable. One of them is EU membership and NATO membership of Ukraine. That is a decision for the Ukrainians. The EU process is ongoing. Ukraine will become European, not Russian. And this is already a big loss, I think, for Putin. And the other one is NATO membership at some stage.
Earlier on February 12th, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that it is unrealistic to expect that Ukraine can restore its 2014 borders in any negotiations with Moscow on ending its war. In view of evolving situation, French President Emmanuel Macron will host a meeting of European leaders on Monday to discuss the war in Ukraine and European security. Dozens of similar summits have shown Europe to be dithering, at times disunited and politically weak, and struggling to come up with a cohesive plan to end the Ukraine war and dealing with Russia, 3 years into Moscow's invasion of its neighbor. Dheeraj Das for DD India.